Read the new lesson, Bismillah. Okay, just Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, just to recap with regards to yesterday's lesson. We told you the sajda, we explained yesterday also that you go with your hands first down, your knees first touch the ground, then put your hands, and then you put your head between your hands, right? Then we said, just briefly recapping, then according to Hazrat Imam Abu Hanifa, either the nose or the face, right? Whichever one you go onto, that will be fine, right? I'm not fine, but the sajda will be done, right? Then the next thing we done, that the hands and the knees are not faras. If you don't put if a person kept his hands in the air, never put his hands down, but he just put a portion of his face, then his sajda is done, right? If he kept his hands on his side, whatever, right? There is it. And then if a person makes sajda in such a manner that he never put his knees on. So the only way you can make sajda by not putting your knees on the ground is what? It's like you're doing a press up. You know what's a press up? You do a press up. What's it called? A push up. Eh? A push up, press up. Believe it or not, there was a person there in Kosan where Jamal was a Tanzanian. He used to do the sajdas like that. Serious, I'm not joking. He used to go with his hands down like this without his feet and without his knees, and his feet used to. But now if you look at it technically speaking, it's not a sunnah. It's not a sunnah, but technically speaking, it's the sajda is done. Because look here, what they say there. What it says, you must have your face right, or portion of your face right, and then you must have you don't have to have your knees down, right? Right? And you don't have to have your hands down. And then what it says, your feet, that is necessary to put it down. Although here I remember there's another discussion, but I see it's I never touch on this discussion. Well, I should have actually checked it up. I forgot. وأما وضع القدمين فقد ذكر القدوري أنه فريضة في السجود. That if you put one foot down, one foot up, there is also some tafsil. Can you remember that anybody remembers anything? Luqman, you came across it maybe in the kitab where they just say that both feet have to be on the ground. But if a person put one foot down, one foot up, what is a masla? Can you remember? You can't remember. Yeah, I remember something like that. Yeah. If you keep one foot down, it's done. But okay, I must check it up again. I forgot to check it up, but I'll try to check it up. But okay, for the time being, let's just take it like this here, that your feet must be on the ground. That is faraz, right? It's part of the sajda. Now the next masla here we're discussing is, I think so. I remember something. That both don't have to be down. Even if one is down, the other is not down, is we don't have that, what you call it here, but okay, we'll check it up inshallah. Anyway, well, alhamdulillah, we've covered most of everything there. The next thing is this now. فَإِن سَجَدَ عَلَى قَوْرِ إِمَامَتِ. Sometimes you have your turban, but now the turban is started. It's not only on the head, it comes over your forehead. All right? So now, your forehead is not touching the ground. All right? Your turban is touching the ground. That's fine. فَإِن سَجَدَ عَلَى قَوْرِ. So if he makes sajda upon the fold of his turban, أَوْ فَاضِلِ ثَوْبِهِ, or the extra cloth. What do you mean by extra cloth here? What is meant by this is sometimes, like what it means, like I don't know if you ever seen sometimes the Arab jubbas, the Moroccan jubbas, they got very, very broad sleeves. So now maybe some previous days the masjids didn't have carpets like how we have carpets today. It was maybe sand or stone or whatever. Just see if everything is right. I just see only two people. The normal people never come, unless maybe we're a bit early today. Everything is right. So now you took your sleeve, right? And you made sajda on your sleeve. That's also fine. Why? Because لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يجد على قول إمامته. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to also make sajda upon the what? Upon the fold of his turban. So what? Right. So what you learn from this here. So for the and also, okay, before we let's read the next text. ويروى is also narrated that ويروى أنه صلى الله عليه وسلم صلى في ثوب واحد. He should read salah in one cloth. يتقي بفضوله حر الأرض. He used to use one big cloth he would wrap himself in, and he'd use bifadhuli, the extra cloth. Extra cloth means that's over and above that it is used to cover his body, right? Harra al-ardi, to protect himself from the heat of the ground. Wa bardaha, and also from the cold. So two, three things I want to mention there to you. First thing I want to mention to you is this here. So you see, even if your forehead doesn't touch the ground, but if it feels the firmness of the ground, that's good enough, right? Like you got a turban there, mashallah. If you had to wear your turban lower down on your forehead, and when you put your head down and make sajda, you can feel the firmness of the ground. Or maybe the ladies also sometimes they got a scarf, or maybe the ladies are in a hijab, etc., etc. So now maybe they're in a public space, they don't want to remove, or they can't remove because they will be exposed. Now they make sajda. Then even though they got something on their face, the face, the skin don't have to touch the ground. Now there was 2, 3 years ago, this question was common. There was something called a memory foam musalla. Anybody heard about it? A memory foam musalla. So it's supposed to be like a very comfortable musalla that it takes the shape of your body. So people were asking, is it permissible to make sajda on that? Or maybe sometimes even, you got a thick blanket, very, very thick blanket, right? Now you want to make sajda on that blanket example, right? Like you got what you call a wing blanket or a fleecy blanket, or maybe a guduru or anything. What you call this in English, the guduru in English, what do you call it? A duvet, yeah. You got a duvet or something. Maybe you don't have a musalla, you don't have a musalla, so can you make sajda upon that? You can make sajda as long as you press your head down and you feel the firmness of the ground under that. That's what I'm saying. So no matter how thick that blanket is, no matter how thick that blanket is, or no matter how thick that guduro is, or no matter how thick that duvet is, when you are making sajda, press your head till you can't press it anymore, and you must feel the hardness of the ground under. So that is the answer that all the muftis gave, because that was a common question that time. That can you make sajda on a memory foam? So if you make, whether it is the sajda of a memory foam, or whether it is you making sajda on your turban, or whether you are making sajda, right? No matter what you're making sajda upon, you got a hoodie on. What have you got? A hoodie on. If your hoodie is so thick, and especially it's on your forehead. But when you are going to sajda, make sure you press it till you can't press anymore. You must feel the hardness. Right? So press so hard this is a mustah for all things, whether it is for your turban, whether it is for your hoodie, whether it is a memory for musalla, no matter what it is. Right? Remember that mustah, okay? Is it clear? Okay, so the main thing is two things. There's two offshoots of the thing. What's the two offshoots? One is your skin don't have to touch the place of sajda. You can have a something in between, right? But you must press it firm down. You must press it firm down, right? So what's our proof? Our proof is this here that ويروى أنه صلى في ثوب واحد. Nabi Sallallahu also did salah in one big cloth. يتقي بفضوله. You should protect with the extra cloth حر الأرض, from the heat of the earth, وبردها. Carry on reading. Right. Remember, I mentioned to you. Now, this is for the men. Inshallah ta'ala, I will explain to you the sajda of our ladies when we finish the sajda of the men. So, yubdi. This is from bada, bada yabdu, not bada yabda'u. One is bada wa ta'amza, to begin, That one, you must have heard it. As-subuhu bada. You heard it, Nazam? You ever heard as-subuhu bada, bada yabdu? That's what what I ya at the end. So this is abda yubdi. So he will make apparent ضبعيه, his sides. I told you in a hadith it comes that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he was the imam, you'd open up his arms, you could see the whiteness under his arms, right? So here that's what refer to if you're the imam or you're reading alone, then وَيُبْضِي ضَبْعَيْهِ, you will make apparent this portion under your arms. لِقَوْلِهِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. Why? Because of the statement of Rasulullah sallallahu وَأَبْدِي ضَبْعَيْكِ, make apparent your sides. Don't contract yourself. Don't let your arms rest on the ground, or don't keep it against your sides. No? Can you guys hear? You can hear? Okay. Where is it? You said about the abidda. So abadda yubiddu. Abidda, abidda, abidda. Abidda. Okay, can you people hear now? Can I carry on speaking? Right. So this is still for the men, right? So abdi. ضبعيك, make apparent your side. ويروى أبدة. Some riwayat say أبدة. Yeah. So abidda, make apparent. So if you look at it, it's two different words. One is, I told you, bada yabdu, ne? As-subhu babada, right? That's from bada yabdu, which become apparent. And then abadda yubiddu min al-ibdadi. And that is, wal maddu means to, mad means to pull something, make it right, pull it open, right? So they tell you, wal awalu, this is bada yabdu, is from wal awalu min al-ibda'i, which is bada yabdu. Wal ilhar means to become apparent. We say as-subhu bada, the morning has become apparent, right? And this is abadda yubiddu means from mad, to pull something, right? So right. Wa yujafi batna wa anfakhidayhi. Again, this is for the men also. He will yujafi, separate his stomach from his thighs. So the men will have a gap between their stomach and their thighs, unless they got a very big pot belly that's hanging, can't separate it. But in other words, to such an extent, it is mentioned that لأنه كان إذا سجد, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sajada, right? Jafa, you separate between his thighs and his stomach. حتى أن بهمة لو أرادت أن تمر بين يدي لمرت. If a little kid, what I mean kid here, a goat kid, a small goat, if it wanted to pass, it will be able to pass between his stomach. Not between his stomach, between his, you can say his stomach and his thighs. So there must be a gap between the two. So a man will not contract his body like a lady, right? Right. وَقِيلَ إِذَا كَانَ فِي الصَّفِّ لَا يُجَافِي. It is said if you are in the stuff, if you are reading Salah, right? Obviously, then you won't push your arms out because you're going to be knocking the next person. You're going to be inconveniencing the next person. And if there was water shortage, if the water was off like how they in Transvaal all the time, water's off and you're opening your arms and you'll be inconveniencing the next person. You'll be getting the smells from your armpits. So that of opening your arms is only when you are alone, not when you are in the saf. They're saying, وَقِيلَ إِذَا كَانَ فِي الصَّفِّ لَا يُجَافِي كَيْ لَا يُؤْذِيَ جَارَهُ, so that he does not harm his neighbor. So imagine you pushing your arms out into the next person, right? Then وَيُوَجِّهُ أَصَابِعَ رِجْلَيْهِ, he will face the fingers of his feet. What are the fingers of your feet? Yusuf, what are the fingers of your feet? I'll give you the little class. Yeah. So in English, you got a separate word for fingers and toes, right? Fingers obviously in your hand and toes. But in Arabic, you use the same word. For fingers, you say asabi'ul yad. And for toe, you say asabi'ul rijl. So وَيُوَجِّهُ أَصَابِعَ رِجْلَيْهِ نَحْوَ الْقِبْلَةِ, you will face his toes was a qibla. So what does this mean? When you are in sajda, don't keep your feet, look at me, don't keep your feet toes like this. Your toes must be like that. Now obviously I can't bend my fingers like that, but the toes must be flat, uh, facing the qibla, right? ويوجه right أصابع رجلي نحو القبلة. Why? لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, because the said إذا سجد المؤمن, when a person makes sajda, سجد كل عضو منه, then every limb of his makes sajda with him. فَلْيُوَجِّهْ مِنْ أَعْضَائِهِ الْقِبْلَةَ مَا اسْتَطَاعَ, so he should face from his limbs towards the qibla مَا اسْتَطَاعَ, whatever he is able to face. Whatever he is able to face. That is why also on this note here, like especially in the Hanafi madhab, they say that, sometimes you're late for salah for the men, maybe it's not maybe so much applicable for the women because obviously arms is part of their aura, right? But so they have to cover their arms. But the men sometimes more applicable. They're rushing, they made wudu, so now they want to catch the rakat, etc., etc. So they don't pull their sleeves back down, right? So they read namaz with their sleeves rolled up. So what's the masla there? The ulama say that just what you should do is, if you want to miss a rakat, and by rolling down your sleeves, you're going to miss the rakat and join the salah. But during the course of salah, slowly, with minimal movement, obviously not the maximum movement. If you do it with maximum movement, then that's going to break your salah. So with minimal movement, roll down your right. And what is the reason there? They say the same thing what is mentioned here, that when you're making a ruku, your entire body, your clothes is making a ruku. When you're making sajda, your entire, they're saying you should get as much of your body, even your toes, etc., to make face the qibla. So same thing they're saying here. When you're making sajda, your clothes must also make sajda. When you're making ruku, your clothes must also make the ruku, right? ويقول في سجوده سبحان ربي الأعلى ثلاثا, then he will say in his sajda 3 times سبحان ربي الأعلى وذلك أدناه. This is similar to what we discussed earlier, that you remember we told you it is the tasbih itself is not faraz. To go into the position, there's 3 things. This is like the other masla. One is to go into the sajda, like how we discussed. We discussed what the faraz of sajda is. According to Imam Hanifa, at least the nose or the head, and then at least the feet, right? At least the feet. If the arms don't touch or the rukbatain don't touch, then the faraz is still done, right? Then we said for the hands and the knees to touch, that is sunnat, right? Our views are following nicely. Then, as per with all the positions, for your body to come to a complete standstill, even for a moment, in the sajda position, that is wajib, right? Then the minimum of the sunnat tasbiyat is at least 3 times or 5 times or 7 times. You understood what I'm saying? I told you, especially if you know the qawm is going to object, then don't go more than, yes, if you know that if I make 5 tasbihs here, or I make 7 tasbihs, or even I make 9 tasbihs, my qawm, my musallis are not going to object, then mashallah, you can فَلْيَتَفَضَّلْ mashkura, you can go ahead and do it. But you know the people, hey, this Mulana, hey, make such a long salah. Oh, when you go to the mosque, oh no, here you're going. So the ladies by the house, they don't have restrictions. They're not making imamat, etc., etc. So they can push it, inshallah, Allah Ta'ala reward them. They can go 3, they can go 5, they can go 7, they can go 9, whatever, inshallah. So the restriction here is only for the men, and not for the men, but rather say for the imam, where the qawm is going to be inconvenienced. So to read such a salah, you have to strike the balance, right? You can't compromise on the sunnats. Now you make 1 tasbih or 2 tasbihs, right? And we're going to go, as we go through the sabak, inshallah, you're going to do the masnoon kirats for the different salawat. You can't compromise on what is the masnoon. You must make the salah easy within the sunnat. You understand what I'm saying? You make the salat easy within the sunnat. There's no compromise on the sunnat to say now you're only going to make 1 tasbih, or you're going to read the yes, within the masnoon kirat. You know what the masnoon kirat? You can go for the shortest masnoon kirat. If the ladies can, we're going to discuss this also, inshallah, if they can also practice upon the masnoon kirat, nurul ala nur, inshallah, ta'ala, accept from them. So you make it easy within the masnoon kirat. Like you just go 3 times quickly. Subhana Rabbil A'la, Subhana Rabbil A'la. Obviously not chewing the words and eating the words up, but make it easy. So not on your own salah, you're reading, so you forgot, or you never make jamaat and you're reading alone faraz, there you can pull it. Or you're reading your sunnats, or you're reading your tahajjud namaz, there you can pull as much as you want to. But when you're the imam, make it easy with the caveat, within the sunnah. If you can't make it so easy, where you're going to compromise the sunnah? So it means if you're going to make it so easy that you're going to compromise, then what's the point of the sunnah? Then who's going to practice it upon the sunnah? As you as the imam with the qawm, you understood that? So so remember, we discussed what is the faraz of the sajda, according to Imam Sahib, either the nose or the face, it doesn't matter, and the feet, and then the hands, and the knees are sunnat. Then the wajib is at least the body must come to a complete rest, and and then from the sunnat also of the tasbiyat is at least 3 times, right? ذلك now لقوله, and what's our proof to say that you must. And then, another thing I want to tell you, remember what we discussed in the beginning. Every time you start your movement, you start your takbir. Finish your takbir with your movement. So when there's a short movement, there's a short takbir. When there's a long movement, there's a long takbir, right? So لقوله وذلك أدنى قول وذلك أدناه. The minimum of the sunnah you want to get the reward of the sunnah is 3. Obviously goes if you go more 5, 7, inshallah you get more reward. The qawlihi as-salam, because of the Nabi saying إذا سجد أحدكم, when any one of you makes sajda, فليقل في سجوده, he should say in his sajda سبحان ربي الأعلى ثلاثا وذلك أدناه. That is the minimum. When we say the minimum, it doesn't mean it is a minimum that without that your sajda is not done. We explained to you what is the minimum of the sajda. We gave you already 2-3 times. We already explained it, right? So what means adna kamal al jam'i? That is the minimum of having a complete jam. Jam means doing the tasbih in abundance. They say وَيُسْتَحَبُ أَن يَزِيدَ عَلَى الثَّلَاثِ فِي الرُّكُوعِ وَالسُّجُودِ. It's also mustahab that he increases upon 3 in the ruku and the sajda, right? بعد أن يختم بالوتر, after he finishes off on the odd number. I told you the ladies, you can, alhamdulillah, you can go for it, no restrictions. لأنه صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يختم بالوتر, he used to finish off with 3, right? So inna Allah witrun yuhibbul witr. Allah Ta'ala is an odd number. He loves odd numbers. Right? I know some ladies, even not in the kitchen, when they're doing the recipe, if they have to put 2 teaspoons in, what will they do? They say, no, this is an even number. So they'll put 1 teaspoon and they'll put half a teaspoon and half a teaspoon to make it the odd number. Subhanallah. Imagine. Inna Allah witrun yuhibbul witra. So even when they have to put the odd number of ingredient, they split it in half so that they can make it into a odd number, because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam inna Allah witrun yuhibbul witr. Wa in kana imaman la yazidu ala wajhin yamallu al-qawm hatta la yuaddi ila at-tanfir. So as I told you, if you are the imam, la yazidu, you will not increase ala wajhin in such a manner that malla yamallu al-qawm, that the qawm here means his musallis, they will become tired, bored, hatta, to such an extent, la yuaddi ila at-tanfir, it must not result in them chasing them away. Yes, maybe if you like in a you get a khanka masjid. You know it's a khanka masjid. You know it's a khanka where people come for spiritual reformation. Now you know the people that all are there. They've come for the for the khanka, and they got no other work. And now if you pull it to 7, nobody's going to mind because they got nothing else to do, right? It's not a working place. So there it's left to the discretion of the what you call it. But now you reading Zohar namaz, those people must go they must go back to work. They must go back to work. Now you pull a Jummah, you give extra long khutbah. Now you want to give those people go to work now. Now that's what that obviously. So you as an imam, you must be smart. You must be able to gauge, right? You in a workplace, the masjid is there in Newtown, Fordsburg, or Mayfair Masjid, or maybe there in Utenaik there by Ibadah Rahman. All the people must go to work there now. Now you want to give an extra long lecture, then long khutbah. Now you want to make 9 tasbihs and all this stuff. You come out there, they're going to give you hiding. So, right? So, summa tasbihat ruku sujudi sunnatun. So, I told you these tasbihat, they sunnat, right? They are not فرض to say, right? لأن الناس تناولهما دون right? لأن الناس دون تسبيح. Because if you look at the nas, they say وَرَكَعُوا وَاسْجُدُوا. Remember, from that we understood the farziyat. And the farziyat only spoke about the ruku and the sajda. It never speak about the tasbiyat, right? فَلَا يُزَادُ عَلَى النَّفْسِ. Like how we told you, we can't add on the Quran and say that no, tasbih is also farz, because because the Quran is only speaking about the sajda, it is speaking about the ruku, the actual act of ruku, the actual act of sajda. So to add a tasbih, like I explained to you, you will be adding to the Quran what a khabr wahid, which is not correct. See what's your question? That is speaking about the nas refer to the verses that speak about warka'u wasjudu. That is, we understood the farziyat from there, and the farziyat only include the actual act of what ruku is and what the actual act of sajda is, and we discussed that in detail. We told you what's the actual act of ruku, that you bend so much you can touch your knees. That is what is faraz. And the tuma'aninat is wajib, remember. And here we discussed that the sajda one is a bit complex. We discussed this in detail, that according to Imam Sahib, either the nose or the forehead, and Imam Kuduri said, and the feet. And according to Sahibain, only you can suffice on the nose when you can't make on the forehead, right? And so it will be in the forehead and the feet, the hands, the knees is sunnat, right? In the sajda. Then the wajib we done is what? Tuma'aninat. And the sunnat is the tasbihat and the hands and the knees. Right, we'll stop there, inshallah. We'll continue tomorrow. May Allah Ta'ala accept. ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون. Allah to the barakah of these lessons grant all the sick and ailing shifa and make it a means of cure. Subhanallah bihamdihi subhanallah bihamdihi.